But you're living a poker lifestyle. Like, you have to like and love the process.
It's really, really hard to be a successful poker player.
I go on these runs where I just can't win anything. But then it turns around eventually.
What's it been like for you and your partner with the early stages of like a career in poker, let's say?
My partner is unreal. She's super supportive.
Like, was there anything like that you've experienced so far where you've hit your own level of kind of rock bottom?
If you're not spending time practicing or studying spots or ranges or whatever, like, you can't expect yourself to get any better.
So Matthew, tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, you've come to me for coaching about 4, maybe 5 months ago, and you're relatively new in on your journey of taking your poker seriously. Tell me a little bit about the early stages of your journey and what kind of brought you over from I call it the dark side, into the light side.
Yeah, so I went to Vegas with my family in, I think it was 2012. Obviously, I think I was 14 at the time, and we were walking through the strip, and I saw one of those signs, World Series of Poker, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Obviously, I couldn't go inside any place because I was 14. I think it was the Greg Merson won the World Series.
2012 was.
Yeah.
And I know that because I finished second in an event that year,
There you
and
go.
Greg Merson was on my final table.
There you go.
And he went on a sick run and won the 10K six max and then won the main event.
Wow.
It was disgusting, that sort of run.
Yeah, so I think I went home and started watching it on YouTube. This was before Poker Go was a thing, and you could watch it for free. So I remember watching that, and I was like, "Wow, this is super interesting, eh?" And I was like, So I think I downloaded like Zinger Poker or something on my phone and started playing from there. Obviously, I had no idea what I was doing, but when I turned 18, I went down to St. George Leagues Club when it used to be APL. Walked in there, had no idea about anything. Ended up playing my first tournament, won, as the beginner's luck is. And then, I was just kind of hooked after that.
That happens.
Yeah, I enjoyed the thrill, the heartbeat, going through players. It was all exciting to me, and then that's where I am now. Yeah. Often people who are in the tournament field, let's say, they did have a very positive early experience with playing tournaments, and so that's what obviously attracts you back to that, that thrill, as you call it. And I think for you, it's very interesting because, there's an attraction which is almost like a spiritual attraction to this idea of the thrill of life, let's call it. And poker really brings that. You voluntarily put yourself into the game, and it's exciting, and it's painful too. And this is why I call it a spiritual journey, because you're voluntarily putting yourself into this painful experience. Tell me something about why that's relevant to you and your journey, because it's hard. It's really, really hard to be a successful poker player. You're going to lose more often than you'll win, right? And you've already experienced this. And some of the work we're doing together is working through the psychological aspects of handling that narrative of, oh, I'm unlucky and this is happening to me. So tell me what's going on there for you. Yeah, so obviously you have your good runs and your bad runs. It's just how it is. You can't control what comes out on the board. You can control everything up to the flop, the turn in the river, really. That's out of your control. There's going to be times where other people do stupid things that they shouldn't be doing, and you get unlucky. I mean, everyone's done it before. Like, everyone who started out has done stupid things that they probably look back on and they're like... Are you kidding me? I still do stupid things. Yeah, exactly. And I'm apparently a seasoned pro after 15 years. Yeah, that's it. Like, they're just things you can't avoid. It's kind of getting yourself out of that mentality that it's, oh, I'm the unluckiest player in the world. I mean, I still struggle with it, right? So I go on these runs where I just can't win anything. And I think, God, like, this is ridiculous. Like, what do you have to do? Put so much effort in and then this happens. But then it turns around eventually. Like you can't always be on a downswing. So there is an upside to it. It just takes time, really.
So time is the key factor for you. If you're able to kind of grind through those downswings and eventually see the upswings, that works for you as a psychological tool.
Yeah.
Just keep grinding.
Absolutely. It's like you can't run bad all the time. Like there are going to be times you run bad and there's going to be times you run super good. Like I think I can remember the last couple of times I played. I probably played 5 live games in a week and I final tabled all 5 times, and then I didn't final table for 2 months after that. Like you go on a run, so you just kind of have to be ready to handle that. And I mean, it is annoying and it is gonna like make you question whether you want to keep going. Like you spend so much time and effort and money, like, and then you're like, is it really worth it? You just go push through.
I think a lot of people who are listening, Matt, might really connect to this space that you just found yourself in. You know, this idea that, okay, I'm kind of new to the game. I've developed a passion for it, whether it be from early success or from watching certain content on TV or YouTube. And then when they finally commit themselves to the game and go all in, so to speak, and you know that's what you've done. You've gone all in. You've got yourself a coach. You and I have been doing work together. You've been studying on GTO Wizard. You've been really immersing yourself in the experience.
Yeah.
In that space there, I noticed something shift in you. You know, it's that, like this game can beat you up. What helps you pull you through those moments?
The upside. The fun of going through the process of bettering yourself, knowing that you're making the right decisions at every point, and just you've got to want it, really. Like, this isn't a short-term commitment kind of thing. You have to be in it for the long run. You can't just throw it in after 3 months because you haven't had a win. Like, I'm sure every person that's ever started who's successful now is probably gone through exactly what I went through and I'm still going through. So there's not really much else to it, really. You just kind of soldier on through. Eventually it's going to get better at some point. It also depends how much effort you put into it. Like if you're not spending time practicing or studying spots or ranges or whatever, like you can't expect yourself to get any better. Eventually it's just all going to kind of click. Like you said to me when I first started, you said you're going to get to a point and it's just going to kind of click. And I was like, what's he talking about? It kind of happened to me maybe three weeks ago, maybe a month. I was just playing and it just kind of clicked. And it was like that exact moment. I was like, it's all kind of coming together now. And it is really daunting because you come from playing pub poker and you don't use maths, ranges. Like, what's a range in pub poker? There's no such thing. And then it is very overwhelming. That definitely for me was kind of one of the factors that was, do I really want to do this kind of thing? Because there's so much content to learn and there's just so much online. And then you question yourself and you're like, is this right? Because this page said this, and then this YouTube video said this, and you just get all confused with yourself.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I just want to take a short moment to tell you about our new website, theaustralianpokermindset.com.au. Over there, you can try our new meditation platform to help your poker performance. Once you're logged in, you can go to My Library, Poker Meditation, and you can see that we've got a range of meditations for live tournaments, cash games, online tournaments, or just general meditations for health and well-being. We also have soothing backing tracks if you're on the table and you feel like you need to just calm down and get yourself in the zone. Once you're in here, you can click on which aspect you like, and you can scroll down and see there's a range of different types of meditations for all your needs. I'll be building off this every week and adding new meditations as we go. Thanks for your time, and I'll let you get back to the episode. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I can probably connect with there is the idea that poker is a long-term journey. You know, like people want instant success. It's very common in psychology. We kind of want to rise to the top very quickly, and we think we don't have to put much effort in to get there. And I remember early on when we first started, you would find yourself saying certain things like, oh, Thatcher's making all these final tables and Yeater and Brendon and you're doing, all these people are just having all this success all the time. Why am I not there? Right? And that's such a common thing. Even I still feel like that. When I still see certain people go on a certain run, I'll be like, oh man, I wish that was me, and that's still me after 15 years of playing. And I've had my periods where I've gone through really, successful periods. It's something that, coming back to the idea of the long-term thing, is that when you subscribe to a lifestyle of being a, let's call it, professional poker player. And I say professional because the way you approach the game is all professional. Everything you're doing, you're studying, you're taking care of yourself. All the principles you apply in-game are the principles you apply in your life game. Right? So it's like discipline, it's study, it's routine, it's, reflecting on your experiences, maintaining a positive mindset through very negative and pessimistic experiences. It's a big challenge, man. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Can certainly beat you around and make you want to quit. Like I remember when I won a satellite to play in the Jackstar, right? And I rocked up there and I was like, oh, I'm like the king of the pub. I was like, these guys have got nothing. And I sat down next to Jared, not knowing who he was, not knowing anything about him. And he would have just sat there and thought, beautiful, give me all your chips. You're sitting there raising with nothing just because he knew that whenever I had a hand, it was because I had a hand. Any other time, he would take advantage of that. Just knowing... and the experience, really.
And I guarantee you that players like Jared would have had that experience where he was in your shoes many, many years ago in his early stages. And I think when I had him on the podcast, he even disclosed a few of those early stages when he was really first getting into it. And I remember I played with him a fair bit in his early stages when we were playing at the WSOP here in Sydney. I don't remember exactly thinking the narrative that you just mentioned. I wasn't sitting there licking my lips because he was on the table, because Jared had a very, has a very natural knack for the game. Like he's able to kind of like learn very quickly and apply a lot of principles to the game. And I think that's where, there's a discussion in poker about how much of it is natural talent and how much of it is learned talent. I would say that you obviously don't need a physical strength to be able to be really good at poker. It's not like soccer where Ronaldo just has a born biological advantage, let's say. In poker, it's different. I think it's weighted way more towards the how much effort you put in. And that comes back to what you said, when you apply yourself and you have to consciously be studying the game. And if you throw your hands up and say, oh, how could this happen to me again? There's no growth in that.
No.
It's the same principle that you should be applying to your life as well as poker.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like the best footy players playing in the NRL, like they weren't training one day a week and just playing games on the weekend. Like the reason they're there is because they wanted it. And they lived a footy lifestyle, just like we're living a poker lifestyle, so to say. Like obviously you cater in your other staff and family, friends, work, whatever. But you're living a poker lifestyle. Like you have to like and love the process of, having good runs, bad beats, studying, understanding why this worked, why this didn't work, why you shouldn't do this, why you shouldn't do that, so on and so forth.
Could you share your, let's say, worst experience you've had in poker so far since you've really started to apply yourself? And how you got out of that?
As in... mentality wise, or
like an experience that you might have had that you found yourself in a really, let's say, challenging, dark place as a result. Because I know, and I've shared through all my platforms a lot of my really challenging situations where I'd be in tears, I'd be broken and shattered on the floor, sort of thing. Like, was there anything like that you've experienced so far where you've hit your own level of kind of rock bottom?
Yeah, so I think it was maybe, how long ago now? 3 years. I mean, it was only like pub level poker, so to say. But I remember looking at some stuff on like YouTube or whatever I was looking at it on, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go and apply this at a game. And I played for months and months and months and wasn't getting any results. And I was like, What's going on? Like,
What did you apply?
I think I looked at, I think it was something like pod odds and equity and stuff like that. Obviously, I had no idea what any of that really meant. I knew what pod odds meant, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, whatever, right? And trying to calculate that. But then I was like, okay, so if this says this is this and this is the equity I need to continue, and I was like, okay, it sounds fairly straightforward. I went and had a go at it, got beat again. And then I was just like, well, this isn't working. And that went on for months and months and months and months. And I was like, what's the point? I was like, if I just play like a fairy, it seems to be working better than playing like you actually know what's going on. So I was like, oh, what's the point with this study stuff? So I literally pushed it to the side. I stopped doing what I wanted to do purely because I wasn't getting the results, right? And it's not the case. It's going to happen. And now I understand that. So you just got to kind of, again, push through. It's never going to be all up. There's going to be bad times, mostly bad times. There's going to be a few times where you do good, and then you'll enjoy it, and then it'll happen again. You'll go bad and whatever, right? And you'd always remember the bad times more than the good times. I can tell you 1,000,005 bad beat stories over probably the 1,000,005 times that I've beat other people. It's just, you remember the bad times more than the good times. Obviously, if you have a super successful win or whatever, or something like that really made you feel good, you're going to remember that. But yeah, you'll always remember. I could tell you every bad beat that I've had, but I can't tell you every bad beat I've given to someone else.
Yeah. And I've addressed that psychological concept in this podcast many times, the idea around, let's say, our brain often remembers those bad experiences as a protective mechanism, and it creates this confirmation bias where we can feel like we're a victim of the game. And if anyone's been reading some of my blogs I've been putting up recently, I talk about how to manage those things. And, I think it's, when I was listening to your story there about really applying a new strategy, and months and months and months had passed and it wasn't really working for you, I'm sure the narrative in your mind would have challenged you to go, well, what's the point? Let's just quit, right? Because it's not working, and I've tried it. I've tried all I can. You kept going though. What pulled you through that?
I don't stop till I win. Really.
Define win.
Succeed. Achieve what I want to achieve. I won't stop until it's either not doable or until I've succeeded. That's it, really. I've applied that with everything that I've ever done in my life. If I want it, I will get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a level of grit. There's a level of a commitment to the process.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how long it takes. If I commit to something, that's it. I'm committed.
I'm curious though. When you say win or succeed, where is the goalpost? What's the long-term goal in poker for you, Matt?
I would like nothing more than to play full time, to be able to call myself a professional so that I make an income and can support myself and my partner, my mum, dad, brother. Yeah. Nothing would make me happier. Doing something that you love. I like my job now. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I go to work and I'm like, oh, no, not for me. I like my job. But this would be, I don't know, it's kind of like an up there type of thing. I want to achieve this and I won't stop until I get it kind of thing. It's like when I said to myself when I was younger, I've always been into cars. I always said to myself, if I can afford to do it, I'm going to build myself a car. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't stop. People saying, you're wasting your money on this, you're wasting your money on that. I was like, I don't really care. That's what I want to do. And I've done it. I can say that I've done what I wanted to do. And that's it. Move on to the next thing.
I think it's really challenging when you are on this trajectory towards something, right? So for you, you're very goal driven. You're very, you've got a bit of a tunnel vision. Okay, I want something. I'm going to keep going until I get it, right? Along the way, we often hear feedback from our community. Oh, that's silly. Why would you try and build the car? That's a waste of time. Why are you committing yourself to poker? All you do is lose. These are the types of things our family, friends, partner might be saying to you along the way. And what I've found is it's very hard sometimes to know when I should be listening to that feedback or pushing it away as like the haters or the people who don't believe in me, let's say. It's very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super stubborn, so I don't really listen to anyone. Like, even if someone does know better than me, the way I learn is by doing it and either screwing it up or getting the result I wanted in the end. And that's been with everything since I was a baby, really.
Do you know what I love about that? There's a level of autonomy in it. So this is your life.
Yeah.
And you've chosen to do something, whether you win, lose, or draw, whether it makes you or breaks you. It doesn't matter. It's your journey.
Yeah, that's right. Like, it's no one else's concern what I do. Obviously, people want the best for you, right? And they want to advise you from experiences they've had and so on and so forth. But if I want to do it, I want to do it. Right? Even if I'm wrong, I'm still going to do it. And I'll learn from it. If I'm wrong, cool, I learned something. If I do what I want to do and it worked, cool. You're the one that told me to stop and I still went and did it anyway, and now look.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was training as a counselor, that's one of the things they taught us when it came to like advice giving, let's say. Because when I work in that therapeutic space with someone, they may disclose a lot of things and I might be sitting here thinking, geez, like it's obvious what the problem is. You just got to stop dating that person or stop playing that game or stop eating too much food. But you have to like not give advice. You have to really give the person a space to explore their own journey and make it up for themselves,
That's right.
So it's all about kind of nurturing the person in that space. So I'm not surprised to hear you say that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So talking about things like, let's say, support along the way, when I was thinking about that, what's it been like for you and your partner with the early stages of like a career in poker, let's say? Because a lot of people do really struggle with that.
This is a very good question. My partner is unreal. At first, she was super skeptical, like as anyone would be. Hey, I want to be a professional poker player. Yeah, right. Okay. But she's super supportive. Super supportive. I've spoken with her, walked her through the process, showed her how committed I was to it, and now she's like, yeah, like, you want to do this? Well, let's do it together. I want to learn too. She's like, I want you to tell me this stuff, and I was like, you're awesome. I was like, because I know a lot of people would be scared to go and tell their partner or their wife or whatever, their friends, hey, I'm going to be a poker player now. Because they're scared of what they're going to say and what they're going to think. But it's super helpful that she's very, very understanding. Probably the most understanding person I've ever met in my life, and that's why I'm with her.
That's really beautiful. It does sound like you found a really, really good match for you.
I have. I'm not an easy person to deal with, but she handles me quite well. She's worked me out very, very well.
I imagine, though, that there would have been a lot of challenges still. Even though she is incredibly supportive, I know what poker can do to a person and a relationship. I've been doing it a long time, and I've been through a few relationships, trying to manage with, let's say, a different person on their character traits and how they may handle things like the risk and the hours and the even just the bandwidth that it takes out of my brain. So if I'm in a season where I'm playing a lot of poker, for example, I might be physically present, whether I'm playing online or live, it doesn't matter. I may be physically present, but my brain is on the win, and my brain is on the process of trying to win. So what sort of challenges have arisen for you guys, and how did you overcome them, though?
So when I decided to kind of follow the process and study the game and take it more seriously, you have to commit so much time, like so much time. And like I already do 12-hour shifts, like, and sometimes I work like 72-hour weeks or whatever. So I've got one day off, and in that one day, I play poker or study poker or do something like that. And it was hard for her because it made her feel like that I didn't want to spend time with her. And I was assuring her, and I was like, yeah, like, I'm not pushing you away. Everything's fine. This is just what I'm doing. And she's like, no. She's like, you don't spend time with me. Why am I here? Blah, 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 blah.
Is that how she talks?
No. No, she'll laugh at this.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was just like, okay, like there has to be a point where, because you get so caught up in it, right? And then you just kind of forget, like, hey, I actually have a life outside of this too, you know? So I have gotten better because I do get a little bit carried away with things, and I kind of just push things aside, and I was like, oh, I don't need to do with you yet. No, I don't need to do with you yet. Oh, that's right. You still exist. I need to kind of like tunnel vision. Like that's all I see. But that's kind of just how I am as a person. Like anyone who's known me my whole life will tell you, like, if I'm committed to something, I'm committed to it. Like I don't really stop.
Yeah, and that's interesting there, right? And I want to ask a bit about this. Maybe I'll park this question. It's the idea around something that might be addictive or obsessive, right? And there's a certain level of both of those that you kind of need if you want to be a successful poker player. But while it can be an incredible asset in the game, it's what we would call a life leak in real life, because it's taking you away from your loved ones, it's taking you away from value, time, and energy giving to your partner, your family, your friends, and all that. So it's very hard to find the balance.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, cool.
I want to stay on this idea around how you can basically communicate. What it sounds like is that there's a level of communication to your partner that, hey, look, I'm taking this seriously now. You mentioned, and you've shown her, hey, look, I'm studying the game. I've got myself a coach. I'm going to, online classes or whatever. I'm teaching myself a certain way of living that's, call it professional, let's say, because that's where I envision myself going, right? So what you're doing is you're almost reassuring her that you got this.
Yeah.
Because people often, I've seen this a lot in poker, where their partners will think that they don't got this, and they're spending all this time and energy and money, and they're losing, and it's like, well, why the hell are you doing it? Because there's no benefit at all. That's to right. It.
Yeah, she's always in the background when we're doing, or generally she's in the background when we're doing classes on Zoom or I'm messaging you or whatever, and she's into it. She wants to learn, and that's why I love her, because she takes an interest in my interests, and I return the favor where I can too. She's a little bit smarter than me, so her interests are a little bit more sophisticated.
Maybe I should get her on here then.
Maybe. I'll
train her. She can be like my protege.
You get her on her ADHD medication, mate. No breath. It'll just be talking.
Well, I found like things like that actually can be a superpower in poker. That ability to stay hyper-focused for long periods of time and constantly be kind of aroused by the game and stuff like that actually can be an asset. Something like that in poker.
Like I've got ADHD, and I only kind of... I knew it was like always there, but I never really did anything about it. And then I remember I took Ritalin. One of my mates gave it to me when I was in high school to study for the HSC. And I was like, this is cool. Like I can actually look at this book and not get up and run around in a circle and start talking to this person and wave my hands around here. And I was like, this is good. So I kind of went back to it when I was a little bit older. I think I was 23, 24. What am I now? Almost 26. Yeah, so I kind of went back to it, and I did some reading and some research, and I was like, yeah, I've definitely got it. So when I got myself medication, and it's helped significantly. But you're right in saying that having it's like a superpower, because if you've got it, it's like you hyper focus. on certain interests. It's not like you can have this interest and this interest and this interest and like distribute your attention evenly. It's super difficult with ADHD because your mind is constantly racing. Like even about stuff that's not relevant to anything. Like you overthink, get super anxious. I mean, probably having 15 Vs and 12 coffees a day doesn't help, but if you've got ADHD, more than likely you've got a caffeine addiction. It's just how it is, really.
Yeah, so this discussion around ADHD is becoming more and more prevalent because nowadays, as a child, we're incredibly exposed to a lot of things that get the mind going all the time. Like take kids who have like phones and iPads at the dinner table and things like that. Like they're just constantly aroused to the point where you've basically conditioned this child to, for the rest of their life, have to be constantly stimulated. So it's all to do with dopamine and stuff. So once you raise the dopamine baseline level, it's higher and higher each time. This is why I like to do things every few months or whatever, where I'll detox on like, no food for a day or two, or I'll like go to a yoga retreat or something and really bring down the base level of dopamine for what my body desires. Because poker is incredibly stimulating for that sense,
Definitely.
Especially if you play online, because you're playing multi-tables and stuff like that, right? So you constantly go, and then you stop the session and wonder why you're a bit discombobulated.
Yeah, you feel like you've crashed in a way.
Well, you have.
Yeah.
So you know, like there's a really big high and then come down that's after that.
Yeah.
So it is challenging. Yeah. But yeah, like it sounds like, you and your partner have really found a nice balance at the moment. You have a long journey ahead of you for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to integrate that with what we said earlier, where when you subscribe to that poker career, there's a certain responsibility around the discipline that's associated with that. Knowing that, of course, you're a human, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to rise and fall a lot along the way. But as long as she knows that you're taking it seriously and you're doing all those things outside of the game as well as inside of the game, that reassures her. And the more secure she can be and the more safety she feels, the more she'll be able to support your life in poker. And I guarantee you, from my experience, if your partner does not support your poker, you're doomed to fail in poker. Yeah. That's my true belief.
Yeah, of course, because you're going to need their constant support, picking you up when you're down and being with you through the highs. Like, that's what it's for. I found it hard to kind of, I'm going to call it an obsession. It's not really an addiction. I'm going to call it an obsession.
Yeah, let's come to that topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more of an obsession than an addiction. It's like I can't stop. Like, it's not like I can't go a day without playing, but I'm kind of hooked on the process now because I've seen what the upsides look like and just kind of forget about the downsides. But also you've kind of got to distinguish, like, okay, I've played for like 3 or 4 days here. I have a partner who exists and probably wants to spend time with me as well. Just finding a balance in between, which I think we've definitely talked about it quite a lot. It's taken some, trial and error, trying this, trying that. Like, does this work? Does this make you happy? What's your thoughts on this? And I think we found a pretty good balance at the moment.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, it's hard to find that place. And I think I would encourage you and anyone listening that when you find that place, that's great. Make sure you keep building off it, because as you progress in your poker career, you're going to either be upping the stakes, right? Or upping the exposure to high stressful, high pressure situations or seasons. Like take you, for example, you're about to go to the APL Millions in a few weeks. You've never done a series that's full on 2 weeks that big before, have you?
No.
Right. So she's going to have to, you're both as a couple and a partnership and as a team, you're going to have to upskill yourself after you go through that experience. So there's a level of, okay, with what we know now, let's prepare for this. I'm going to be away for 2 weeks. There may be days where I'm not going to message you at all.
Yeah.
But just know that you're in the back of my mind. You're there. You're in the heart. You're in my heart. But right now, my focus is on poker and I may not be responsive.
That's right.
And she's got to understand that. But then the other side is, okay, well, afterwards, you come back together and you go, hey, this didn't go well. That went well. I felt like I really needed you for this, but you're away. and then you can kind of build off that and learn from each other again.
Absolutely.
But so keep building off it.
Yeah,
What I'm saying.
of course. Yeah. It's a never ending process. Like you always keep working on relationships. Like if you get lazy, it's just going to stop working one day, isn't it? And then you're going to be like, oh, what happened? She's gone.
Yeah, well, I suppose, like it definitely is on topic of just relationships in general. But I want to put an emphasis on, as a poker player, being in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that's rare. It's a bit of an anomaly, or it's like kind of a niche, like little place to be. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. Yeah. So I think it takes this sort of like education, psychoeducation, and learning from other people's experiences. So thank you for sharing.
No, that's fine.
Come back to the obsession, addiction discussion. I want to talk about this. So people like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, like Kobe Bryant, like these types of sporting heroes are heroes because of their obsession with the game.
That's right.
There's no difference to what I think it was Kobe was saying, that he would get up at 4 a.m. and he would be at the gym before anyone else, and then he would leave at like midnight. It's like, this sounds to me like an addiction, where if the substance was drugs, alcohol, gambling, or whatever, you would just be called an addict and you'd be sent to rehab.
That's right.
But your substance is basketball, so now we praise you.
That's it.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
explain to me what you think.
Yeah, like I think an addiction to me anyway is something that is not going to benefit you in any way, shape or form. Like you have a gambling addiction where you go and feed money through the pokies and whatever, right? And you're never going to end up in front. Like it's like what 0.00001% of people who go play the pokies, like they might put $50 in and pull out the grand and they're up and they never play them again, and like good on them. But the rest of us, yeah, you're going to lose. It's just the same as like drugs. Like no drugs are good for you. Like no bad drugs are good for you. Obviously there's like good drugs, Panadol, whatever. But yeah, I think addiction is like something that's bad for you, and obsession would be something that's like, it's not bad for you, but you're going a bit like kind of overboard with it. But it's not even overboard. It's like you've got to like it. Like an obsession is something that you like it's something that you want to do. It's like the bloke who's obsessed with like drag racing or whatever, right? He'll be at the drag strip any chance he can get. It's not exactly a bad thing, but it might cost him, money along the way to fix his car if it's broken or whatever, like so on and so forth. But like it's the same with anything really. Like with poker, like you can be obsessed with it, right? And you're gonna lose. That's just how it is. And you're gonna win. That's just how it is. Same as racing. You're going to lose and you're going to win. So
yeah. I think for me, what I've learned about myself over the years, and I learned this very early, I have addictive natures about me. That's one of the things that's helped me win at poker. It's also been one of the biggest challenges I've had on the side along the way. I've learned a lot about myself and about people in my journey. And I would say that one of the reasons why I don't play cash games is because of this. So what I've learned to do, which is has been incredibly helpful for me, is commit myself to tournaments where there's parameters around it. So if I wanted to play online, I know what time I'm starting, and obviously once I've busted out of all my events, I'm going to finish. Same as live tournaments. If I go to a series, there's a start time. Obviously I might late rego sometimes, and then there's a finish time when you're out or when you're done for the day. There's also clear goals around the progression of a competition. I need to progress to this stage and like build my stack or get in the money and ICM this. And there's all these challenges that are in that. But then you look at cash games, and I found myself in my early stages of my career when I was playing cash games, I couldn't stop. I'd be there. I'd find any reason to stay at that cash game until the last possible moment, whether it be because I'm chasing losses or because I feel like I'm in a good game and I'm in profit and I want to maximize my profit, or there's a fish at the table, or whatever your excuse is. I would come up with all these reasons, and that is basically the addictive mindset talking there. So yeah, I and I hope this is helpful for people who are listening, who are wondering what's going on with their own habits and natures and things like that, to learn what's going to work best for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that you do need a level of that to be successful in poker.
Absolutely.
Because it's a challenge. It's a really, really hard grind.
Oh, 100%. Like it is going to happen. You are going to just want to keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. Like what I do with myself online is I'll start at a certain time. So let's just say my first game starts at 9. I'll go through the list and I'll say, okay, the last game I'm playing starts at 11:30. Do not register any game after 11:30. And that's how I do. So any game I want to play in between, say, 9 and 11:30, I'll register. I'll then write it down on paper and say, okay, how many bullets do I want to fire into this game? Or if it's like the GG Masters and you do a freeze out. Like I say, I'll be like, okay, $12.90 tournament, 3 bullets, write it down. So then you know if you get out, that's how many you can do. Note that down. And so you don't go overboard with it either. Like if you've got a good, like a decent bankroll, right? And you bust 10 times and you rebuy 10 times, like it's going to get to a point where you're like, yeah, okay, this isn't working for me today. Maybe I can give it a little bit of a rest and come back to it another day. So that's why I always give myself limits. So if I register this tournament, I'll say, okay, 2 bullets. Register the next one. Okay, 3 bullets, 4 bullets, 1 bullet.
Yeah. I think this is like the best way to approach it, and almost like the only way to really approach it. It's like, okay, I have a plan and this is my plan. I think the thing that I'm more interested in, which is going more realistic and more to that next level, is sticking to the plan. Because a lot of people really struggle with that, and that's the idea around what the addictive nature might do. Because like, all right, I'm going to go play cash game and I'm going to play from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. I mean, if you don't follow through with that, that's just you being an addict in some sense, right?
Yeah.
Or at least part of that creeping in, right? Like, so with you, it's like, I'm only going to rebuy this many times and I'm going to track it all. Well, what if you rebuy 4 or 5 times when you only said you'd do it 3 times?
Yeah.
Right? So, and again, you know, sometimes I've had some of my biggest wins from like making like more impulsive decisions. The 5K in Sydney when I won the WSOP like 6 years ago or something, I remember I was in for 2 bullets, and I remember buying in on the second bullet because it's a 5K buy-in, right? I was staked, right? I remember busting out, and like I think it was like the last level of re-entry, and I think the stack was only like 20 big blinds. Yeah. And I basically went to my back and I was like, look, do you want to take a punt here? Because buying in this late is not going to be overly plus EV. However, I do have the skill to, if I manage to run good in the early stages, I've got the skill to back up the EV in the back end. Which brings me to another discussion we could talk about the idea around late rego. A lot of people don't know if it's worth it or not. I think if you are capable of closing out tournaments and if you're very good in the back end, then you can buy in late. And that's what we see with a lot of people like, you know, Michael Adamo and those types of really strong players just constantly re-entering because they know they can back that up in the back end. If you're not good at closing out tournaments, then you're just dusting off money, basically, buying in late all the time. Anyway, in terms of impulsive decisions, it wasn't really my choice to make because it was my backer's choice because he was the investor, right? But he said, yep, let's do it. I bought in, had 20 big blinds and managed to spin it up and win the tournament. But again, you know, like that's kind of like part of the addictive nature creeping in there. And it's like, it's really hard to find the balance.
Yeah. And sometimes it is, but you just kind of have to be strong about it. Like you can have a bankroll of like 10 grand and you can blow through that in half an hour if you don't know when to stop, kind of thing. Like you can definitely lose, but you can manage it. Like you can keep it under control. You just got to not be super impulsive about it.
I think it's to come back to what we said about the start of this episode, man. I think it's a journey of learning about yourself. Yeah. This is why it's way more than just playing cards. Yeah. Like poker is such a great game where it depicts the same sort of narrative to life, right? So if you have these challenges in poker, you should really be trying to constantly grow and work from it. And that's the same in your real life. If you have things in your real life that you are trying to do, whether it's relationships, business, or whatever duties you have, if things don't go well, there's no point throwing your hands up and go, well, what can you do? It's like, well, sure, that part of it's luck, right? In poker, sometimes you get bad beats, sometimes you lose a flip. What can you do? Sure. But the question I have, and that's like my whole brand and career now as a coach, is, well, what could you do? All right, it's hyper focusing on the what can you do, because there's always going to be some level of control you can have and influence over your future, and that's the growth mindset. And I think it's the most powerful way to grow as a player and a person, right?
Definitely. I think that's definitely. That's definitely the way to think about it.
You're pretty young, right? You're 25, yeah?
Yeah, 25. I'll be 26 in about a month. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm 33 now. And I find that at your age, I mean, everyone's obviously different at different stages, but I think it's really powerful that you're getting into poker at this age, because what it's going to teach you now are going to be lifelong lessons you get to carry for the next 60 or 70 years, because you've taken on that growth mindset. Even if you don't really ever make money in poker, I guarantee you that your commitment to the journey of growing your character is a transferable skill.
Yeah, and I reckon decision making,
risk taking, discipline, patience, stamina, like health and wellness. That's why I'm so adamant about things like healthy eating and exercise and meditation and all these things.
Yeah,
they all come hand in hand.
Absolutely. Like when you get a grasp of kind of the benefits that it has, not just for poker, but like for everything in general, like you're 100% right. Like it's a game of, it teaches you life skills. It's not just poker skills. Like, and it's great. Like in 10 years from now, when I've got a family and I've, got responsibilities and stuff, like you can use these skills that you've learnt from doing this and apply it to your life.
I imagine a future where you and your partner, maybe, I don't know what your future holds, you have 3 kids running around, screaming and yelling, and you're under serious pressure, right? It's like chaos in the household, but you're having to keep your head cool and keep calm during those high pressure situations.
Yeah.
That's a poker game, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So this could be teaching you lifelong lessons that will serve you until the day you die.
Absolutely.
And you can pass that wisdom on to your children.
Yeah.
Right? So I think this is a great place to kind of like start wrapping up our conversation today, because what we've kind of come to here is this idea that this overall commitment to the journey will not only alleviate the stress and the pressure that's associated with it, but it opens up the realistic, it opens up a potential for your future in all aspects, not just poker.
Yeah, 100%. It's great, really. Like, really, it is. Like there are much worse things that anyone could be doing, really. But you've taken the time, the effort, you've committed yourself to it, and eventually it's going to help you in many other ways too. It's kind of like a big puzzle that eventually all comes together and makes sense, which is good. But you can take that in many different ways, not just poker related, life related, relationship related, work, whatever way you want to think about it.
I love it. So Matt, tell me, as we wrap up today, if you could give yourself some advice from when you, let's say, reached out to me for coaching, 4 months, 5 months ago, what advice would you give yourself?
This is a good question. Don't get too disheartened and don't focus on the negatives, because the whole process is kind of fun and it's challenging. So stay committed to it, because eventually your persistence will pay off and it'll all be worth it in the long run.
I love that. That's awesome. That's really like kind of zooming out of your, going, just be patient through those tough times.
That's it.
Right. Remember the overall journey.
That's it. I've had a vision. That's the vision I'm sticking with.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have any last things you want to share with us?
No.
You got to keep some of those secrets withdrawn, right? In
That's
case someone
right.
plays with you.
Some
or something.
things are between
Yeah.
just you and me, you know?
Yeah. Good. I like it. Well, thank you for being transparent with us, and I'm sure that a lot of people who are listening definitely would be resonating with a lot of this stuff. So
My pleasure. And I think it was good to, put a little segment together where it kind of shows the process of what's involved to go from pub player to, I'm not going to say pro because I'm not a pro, but an experienced player to eventually become a pro player. The whole experience it's different. It is very different. You just go to pub games for the rest of your life, right? And, have a few wins here and there and, get lucky and do the wrong thing and still end up in front kind of thing. But if you're super committed to the game and you want to win some super good money, you got to follow this process. This is how it's done.
I love it. Alrighty, Matt. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you at a tournament soon.
Indeed.